Bigbossjock radio show. Listeners are encouraged to rise up, confront the U.S. government. Get out there, kick off the revolution. Be part of the solution. Liberate the Confederate States of America. The Alamo, placed as the capital. Episode 46, Analyst Assessment. The clip being assessed was posted by NBC News, April 5, 2019. Clip is entitled, Watch Live, Trump Participates in Immigration and Border Security Roundtable. Airtime, 52 minutes, 2 seconds. Before beginning, another mention. Court, May 23rd, 2019, 8:30 in the morning. Redding, California. Division 2, Shasta County Superior Court. "22 minutes, 4 seconds. Statement made by Margaret, proclaimed by her, although we know it's computer generation, as Analyst, the sheriff of Fresno. She would be the sheriff of the county of Fresno, not just the sheriff of Fresno. Doesn't work. Oh, and go ahead and add California. The sheriff of California, place named Fresno. Not every place has the county and the city with the same name. Customary is to place the county. There's a reason why for the trickery. It's to change the system. The proclamation of the autonomous region of California. Again and again, sent in the code. Here we go. 22 minutes and 4 seconds. Statement made, Margaret. Directly affect our local communities without a secure border. Transnational gangs, human traffickers, and drug cartels will take advantage of any opportunity to exploit our current border crisis due to further their criminal behavior in our local communities. Analyst assessment. Viewer needs to associate word our needed to interpret word when associated. Viewer in the abstract needed to connect member in the group of our spoken by the sheriff, county of Fresno, associated membership to California. Another in the group, people who consider themselves another of we, the people of California. Listeners did not associate membership in the group of we. Word did not correlate with we, the people of the United States of America. Issues which pertain apply to an entire region. U.S. southern border, located is California, part of the region. State of California, city of Fresno, is 5 hours north from what is considered the border region, which California shares part of the entire U.S. border. Stretch of the U.S. border, U.S.-Mexico international border region. Viewer needed to associate our with state of California, then interpreted our with the section of U.S. border pertains in the state of California, area which works Margaret, though doesn't, because she's nearly 6 hours, closer to 6, unless she's clipping right along, hot footing on the highway. Viewer needed again interpret Our reverted back, associated again with state of California due to the confusion, never mentioned name use of the United States of America. Viewers' subconscious already made the association. Margaret with the state of California instead of Margaret with the county of Fresno. Computer-generated dialogue consists of another, over again, after other, play on the word we. Exercise of the session. Viewer was conditioned to accept the autonomous region of California. Dialogue placed. Computer-generated dialogue gave clear details. Viewer used analytical thought process when listened to the issues. Abstract with our, went in as without, subconscious to the conscious, back to the subconscious, been conditioned to accept about the to arise situation. Proclamation of the autonomous region of California. 22 minutes, 25 seconds through 22 minutes, 40 seconds. Statement made, Margaret. We've seen increased fentanyl, drug traffickers, and deaths in Central California as a result of fentanyl overdoses. We've also seen named gang member from El Salvador committed horrendous murders. When Margaret stated murders, the word received can quiver of concerned mother. 22 minutes, 40 seconds through 23 minutes, 22 seconds. Statement made, Margaret. Our investigation into this gang resulted in connecting 18 homicides committed in 3 western states. I want to commend all of our federal law enforcement partners from Homeland Security and especially Border Patrol, because what you do here makes a difference in our local communities. And the job you do is under very difficult circumstances. Mr. President, there is a border crisis, and this crisis does not stay at the border. It trickles into our local communities, stretching the resources to local agencies. We must do everything we can to protect our communities from this threat. Border security is more important than ever. Mr. President, thank you. Analyst assessment. Margaret is of no position nor holds the level of authority. Commend all federal law enforcement officials. How many federal officials does Fresno County interact with? She's speaking with the Commander-in-Chief of the U.S. federal government, including armed forces, or I should say armed forces, law enforcement, the Commander-in-Chief. Should keep the Girl Scout Cookie Award ceremony commendations for some other time. Intent is to usurp the power held by the U.S. presidency. Diminished to such a level, becomes non-existent. Arrives other form of government. Statement made by Margaret. Take note of the trickery. Federal law enforcement partners from Homeland Security, and especially Border Patrol, should have been U.S. Homeland Security. Assigned agents included U.S. Border Patrol. Statement worded with especially when described our two groups. First mentioned group received prejudice. Second group introduced, mentioned with especially. Exceptionally goes with especially. Significance placed when our two groups. First mentioned group isn't up to standard. Other is so much better, even if aren't compared. Just both are mentioned, association is made, processed in the subconscious, prejudices are formed. 22 minutes, 47 seconds. Statement made, Margaret. Committed in 3 western states. Statement should have been 3 U.S. states located in the Pacific West, or 3 Pacific West states. Any who aren't aware, Pacific Northwest is state of Washington. Pacific Northwest is state of Washington with state of Oregon included, state of Idaho. Pacific West is the state of California with the state of Nevada. Southwestern is the state of Texas with the state of Arizona included, state of New Mexico. Those are the regions. And now there's a new term, Western states. Colorado River to the sea, to the Pacific Ocean. Proclaimed an autonomous region, California. 23 minutes, 4 seconds. Statement made, Margaret. Received canned indignant. Mr. President, there is a border crisis. Statement should have been made. U.S. President, known for commitment, attention placed to border security, shouldn't be told, theme of which is center, focal point of presidency. And keep in mind, listeners, computer generated is the dialogue. So what's the intention of the programmer? 23 minutes, 18 seconds. Statement made, Margaret. From this threat, receive canned mic pickup bad quality. Turn down volume, lowered fidelity. Computer generated. Play on the psyche of the listener. 22 minutes, 48 seconds. Interjected into the presentation. Statement made, Dawn. Intonation placed. Can doesn't care. Made when Margaret stated, name gang, 18 homicides committed. Statement made, Dawn. Thank you very much, and you're right about that. It does go into Iowa and Idaho, New Hampshire, and it's not the border, and they come in, and you end up in places you would have never think of. The kind of crime that we see, it comes right through this border. It starts right here. That is some programming. Analyst assessment. Difficult to repeat because it does a number even on the presenter. I mean, it's bad to listen to. Toxic is the dialogue. Thank you very much, and you're right about that. You're right about that. No. Talk to the entire nation. That's being addressed. The presidential address, not one-on-one at the conference. Unless done properly. Not appropriate. Having a chat at the table. It goes into Iowa and Idaho. What's it? The border crisis? Really? Iowa is experiencing a border crisis. In terms of the border crisis. Oh, issues that have to do with the U.S. border, southern border. Well, drugs go everywhere, though they're not exactly transported in the way they're explained in the news, so I'm not going to go so far into that one about the U.S. southern border with Mexico and the flow of drugs, because it's not as perceived by the public, and that needs further explanation. Though going off of what they're saying, when speaking about the complicated issue of the U.S. southern border, it deserves more than it goes into. If it's a crisis situation, in what way? What goes into Iowa and Idaho and New Hampshire? And it's not the border? And it's not the border. That serves as a backwards riddle, though at the same time, the idea, why did they pick out Iowa, Idaho, and New Hampshire? If looked at as the map Well, Idaho's west, Iowa's in the middle, and New Hampshire's in the east. One's on the coast. One's near the Great Lake of Michigan, I do believe. I mean, well, one's on the border with Canada. I see. New Hampshire has a piece sliver on the border with Canada, and it's the border. And Idaho as well has a piece of territory which borders the nation of Canada. So when he says it's not the border, though those two states do border with Canada, and it's an ambiguous border, well, the listener is perceiving that it's the problem. What is the problem? Statement makes, Don, they becomes you, and you become they, which means the U.S. citizen becomes the illegal migrant that can be found in Iowa and Idaho and as well as New Hampshire. That also are countries that share an international border. Countries, they're states. They share an international border with another country, the country of Canada. The trickery using the U to turn the U.S. citizen into an illegal migrant termed as they, and they are you, who end up in places you would have never think of. Really, illegal migrant, you never thought to wind up in places like that, U.S. citizen? The kind of crime that we see, no. And the kind of crime that the United States experiences or exists in the United States of America, it comes right through the U.S. southern border. It starts right here. Instead, what was stated, the kind of crime that we see, it comes right through this border. It starts right here. Understand the confusion? The programming that's being placed. Spin the mind, condition the person, accept ideas that are incorrect. Be led along by the use of you, we, it. 23 minutes, 28 seconds. Action made. The general. Computer generated. And he has a name. It's a fictitious name. Seaman Knight. General Seaman Knight. Computer generated. Moved hand on table. Look directly into the camera. Code sent. Will soon handle the situation. End will the babble. Continued same dawn. Babylon. The name Seamanite. Seminite. He is a federal identity holder. His actual name is not Seamanite. Nor Seminite. That's not his name. And the reason they placed the name for the fornicators. Yankee, when they hear words that are similar to what they associate with their activity, their addiction, fornicating, well, another time, what's registered in the mind? Seamanite. There's the General Seamanite. 23:30. Actions of dawn. Computer-generated pantomimed action, sent sign language, moved hands around. Viewer needed to interpret motions to the words, and it's not the border. They're being conditioned to accept code in the form of hand language, sign language. 23:31. Statement made, dawn. They then use of you border group the border patrol agents. I'll repeat it, and I'll do it exactly because there's a lot of trickery, tomfoolery going on. Statement made, dawn. They then use of you group the border patrol agents, same group as illegal migrants. Oh, now I see where I'm confused, and I should do another episode. Oh, one after another. Issues with the broadcast. What was placed was statement made dawn. They then the use of you. So it's they with you. And what it is the group, the Border Patrol. The listener needed to interpret. They, meaning Border Patrol agents, is the same group as illegal migrants. Or it could be, in this case, as well, the U.S. citizen becomes the group. Who's they and who's you? Well, we know illegal migrants are being discussed in the form of you. And who's going to migrate soon? Well, that'd be that U.S. citizen. Underground. Going to roam around. Above ground. War. Factions that don't get along. Going to war till there's no more. And underground, they're going to hunker down and be ready to reclaim everything above ground when the warring factions are no more. Court, May 23rd, 2019, 8:30 in the morning. Shasta County Superior Court. I appreciate some assistance. Anyone see that knife on my hip? 5 months, monthly? No, daily protest, Monday through Friday. Slipping and slipping. Need to get the car into gear. About to go, further down the road. That's it for this episode. Our one only God, He helps me do this rhyme, line by line. I do give my thanks, along with gratitude, for our one only God, Father in heaven. This is the Bigbossjock, momentarily signing off.